to add conflict, to confusion, to chaos. Will we be able to keep the insurance we had? And will the insurance companies be able to replicate the insurance that you had prior to the notification that you have been kicked off the insurance? I'm looking at a posting that was sent to me earlier today via Facebook. Thank you very much, Kenny. I have asked C. Stephen Tucker if he would be willing to be a guest on Viewpoints, and he has joined us. I'm not going to get into the details, and Kenny from Emerald Isle, thank you very much. I appreciate this greatly. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Our guest, C. Stephen Tucker, he's founder and principal broker for SBIS Incorporated, and you're home ported in Chicago, Steve. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you for joining us, by the way. All right, tell us a little something about how you helped guide Kenny, and then we can get into this issue of Bill Elliott. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's back that up. Let's reverse that role. Let's talk about your experience and the role that you played with Bill Elliott, who was recently on the Megyn Kelly show.
Yes, so I was watching Megyn because I'm a big fan, and my wife and I were sitting next to each other, and as soon as he was done, my first thought was, okay, this guy's an Obama voter, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
And I said, this is what's happening because of there's ramifications to everybody's vote, right?
Okay, and before we even go there, let's talk about what did Bill what was his plight? He had lost his insurance.
What happened with Bill is he has stage 4 cancer,
mm-hmm.
and so he is battling the fight of his life. And because of Obamacare, his insurer had to drop his coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And so his alternative to the coverage he had, which was very affordable to him, was a $1,300 new premium per month and a $13,000 deductible. So he was completely flabbergasted, and he's going through all this treatment to survive, with stage 4 cancer. So my heart went out to him. My wife looked at me, and she said, if you don't help him, there's going to be trouble in this household.
Wow.
And I said, okay, honey.
Maybe we should be talking. We need to talk to your wife. We don't know. No. We need to talk to you, Stephen. All right. So you're watching. Okay. Now wait a second. You live in Chicago area, and you're watching this program. Bill Elliott where is he located geographically?
Bill is in South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay.
Yep.
So your wife says, okay, Stephen, you're going to help this guy out. How do you do that? I mean, go ahead.
Well, for 4 years, I've been speaking about this law and writing about this law all over the Midwest, traveling to any group that will listen to the truth. And for 4 years, I've been listening to the Democrat Party, led by Barack Obama, stating that the insurance companies before Obamacare could simply drop your coverage when you're sick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that is not the truth. It has not been the truth for 17 years since Public Law 104-191 was passed, specifically Section 2742. For most of us, that is HIPAA law. And in Section 2742, it states very clearly the only parameters where an insurance company can drop your coverage. And it is not when you are sick, and it is not when you file claims. It is only if you are convicted of insurance fraud, or if the insurance company exits the state and is no longer selling any products in that state. Well, that is not the case with Bill's case.
Mm-hmm.
Bill's case, his policy was canceled to be replaced by other policies they were still selling in that state.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that. I contacted Bill right away. He was kind enough to friend me. Turns out he's a great guy. He is not, he's just in a situation where he's struggling. He was literally desperate. I mean, he had gotten to the point where he was saying, I don't care. I'm just going to let myself die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put this burden on my family. And, I was just so moved by that. My wife looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm like, okay, I'll friend him. So he friends me, and I said, Bill, I'm going to send you a law. I said, it is a public law. It is HIPAA law. I want you to print it out, highlight it in yellow, and then take it to either an attorney or wherever you can take it. Well, it turns out he was on another radio station in South Carolina, and the host there gave him the private number for Governor Nikki Haley.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to contact Governor Nikki Haley. Together they contacted his insurance company and basically read them the federal law. And a federal law that was passed by Congress usurps any regulation that HHS put into the Federal Register after the health care law passed that was not passed by Congress. So for any insurer in this country to drop someone's coverage when they're sick based on a random posting in the Federal Register is illegal for them to do so. And so what he did is he took that information and he won. And today I found out it's even better. They're not even raising his deductible or his premium. He's able to keep the exact same policy he had before. So I want to get the information out to everyone that I can so that they can empower themselves with the federal law that prevents any health insurance company from dropping your coverage and has done so for the last 17 years. The Obamacare law simply took that section from HIPAA law and incorporated it into their new law. But it has been the law of the land in all 50 states for 17 years. So that's why Bill won his case, and that is why Bill is still insured and can still see his medical providers. And I am so happy for him and so moved by this whole victory for him because it's just one in a small line of battles he has to fight. He's still in the battle of his life to beat cancer.
Right.
So I couldn't be happier.
All right, now I want to get into the issue of temporary insurance here in just a moment, but I jumped right into the conversation or the topic, if you will, and our guest, C. Stephen Tucker, and founder of, and I'm going to give you the website, all one word, smallbusinessinsuranceservices.com. One more time.
That is correct.
Smallbusinessinsuranceservices.com. It's an independent agency. Stephen, so you're saying, and this is important because we've got a lot of folks who have lost their insurance policies under the guise that the policies that existed prior to January 1 would no longer be appropriate or meet the requirements as established under the ACA, National Health Care, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it. So today I understand that there's tweaking, not to be confused with twerking. There's tweaking being done. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. There's tweaking being done to national health care. It wouldn't hurt probably a little twerking in the process, but here's my question. So let's take Bill Elliott. He lost his health insurance. What do you do? What do I do? Having lost my health insurance, I have a now pre-existing condition. I had it prior to the notification last month that my health insurance was being canceled. It's been canceled. Now I'm being told, oh, you can keep the policy that you want. I pick up the phone and I say, Mr. Insurance Company, I want to sign up again. And they go through the litany of questions. Do you have diabetes? Do you have this condition you have? Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got that. They say, oh, it's pre-existing. Now, what do I say?
Well, first of all, the only reason that Barack Obama can get away with this at this juncture, and he has no authority to tell the health insurance industry that they have to reinstate policy.
I know that.
He can ask them to.
That's a big question. Say that again?
He can ask them to.
Yeah.
He can ask them to, but they do not have to acquiesce to his demands.
Right.
Now, most policies that are being terminated have not been terminated yet. They will terminate on December 31st of 2013.
Okay.
So it'll be easier for the insurance industry to simply send out a letter and say, your policy is not going to be terminated as of 12/31. You can keep your own benefits as they were, but we'd like to encourage you to look at the new Obamacare compliant plans. That's what's going to happen here. Now, if you bought your health insurance policy after June of 2013, then you're not going to lose that policy until you renew again in 2014. So there's still time to retain most of these policies, which are going to be canceled as of either 12/31/2013 or upon renewal in 2014. So if the insurance industry acquiesces, that's great. I hope that they do, and I believe they probably will. So that's a good thing.
Well, now, is there an alternative? And I was told by Kenny about a product I've never heard of before, temporary insurance.
Yes.
That's a separate item, right? Am I correct on that?
That's correct. That's a separate item. And normally, temporary health insurance is there to fit a small window where you have lost coverage. So, for instance, you are
hold that thought for one moment. I want to go to this quick commercial break, so I have plenty of time without any interruption. If you can stay with us, Stephen, can you do that?
Will do.
All right. By the way, C. Stephen Tucker, and he's going to share with us. He's been appearing recently on some national programs. Of course, yes, the number one national program here is Viewpoints on the talk station, FM 107 AM 1240. I'm sure Stephen's very aware of that. Tongue-in-cheek on that one as well, right up there with the tweaking and twerking. But we're going to get more information from our guest, C. Stephen Tucker. And again, that website, smallbusinessinsuranceservices.com. Viewpoints on the talk station, FM 107, AM 1240. Before I get back to our guest, C. Stephen Tucker, Section 2742, that's Section 2742 of HIPAA. By the way, that's Health Insurance Portability and Affordability. Let me see, HIPAA, HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability. And what's the remainder of that abbreviation, Stephen? I keep forgetting it.
It is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1997.
Right. Yeah, Portability and Accountability Act. So basically it's saying that contrary to all the publicity and the panic and the scare tactics, insurance companies cannot cancel your insurance because of a health event. It's not allowed.
That is correct.
That's important.
It is illegal, and it's been illegal for 17 years.
That's important. All right. Then let's talk about the alternatives to either national health care. And by the way, Kenny was very excited about the program that you pointed him to. It's having to do with temporary insurance. Tell us something about that, if you will, Stephen.
Yes. So for many years, we've had temporary health insurance. So instead of having a permanent policy, it was usually a Band-Aid. And what it would be used for typically would be to bridge the gap between a child, for instance, who has passed the failure to launch clause, which is what I call staying on your parent's policy to your 26. And now they don't have a new job yet, right? So they need a little window there to cover them during that short interim period. Or they're coming off their parents' policy years ago when they were 18 and were going to college. They didn't have college coverage yet, so you put that little Band-Aid in there to make sure they had a couple months of coverage. Well, temporary plans also last for up to a year, okay? But there's an inherent risk with temporary health insurance plans, which is why we have not sold many of them in the last 20 years. And that is, one, they don't cover pre-existing conditions.
Okay.
Number two, if you purchase one, it's much cheaper because it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. But if you get sick in the past, this is before 2014 now, if you were to get sick in that first year of policy ownership and you tried to buy another policy to replace it, you wouldn't qualify because you have cancer or heart disease or whatever the condition is, right?
Pre-existing condition.
Well, now,
right.
A pre-existing condition, yeah. So now, with 2014 rules in place, we have two national open enrollment periods starting in 2014 where any American can approach any health insurance company, whether they're selling inside or outside of the exchanges, and they can get coverage regardless of their medical history. In fact, there will be no medical history questions asked other than your age and if you smoke. The only rateable factor is smoking. So if you buy a temporary policy in December of this year or now in November of this year, that policy is going to end right in the middle of the next second open enrollment period in 2014, which is going to be from October 15th till December 7th. So now is the safe time to buy temporary health insurance. So if you do, God forbid, get sick in the first year of policy ownership, when your policy runs out, you'll be able to go to any health insurance carrier anywhere in the country and get guarantee issue coverage, no matter how sick you are. So that is the good thing about temporary health insurance now. Now, HHS is considering a new ruling. So for those who, for instance, bought a temporary health insurance plan in June of 2013, right? And their policy ends in June of 2014. Well, at that juncture, they would be outside of the two national open enrollment periods, which are, again, January 1 of 2014 to March 31st, 2014. And then that door closes, and it opens again on October 15th and lasts till December 7th. So if your temporary policy was purchased in June of 2013, you would end your coverage right in the middle and not be eligible for coverage for pre-existing conditions as an individual policyholder. So HHS is working right now on a new rule that will allow people to be able to purchase any plan even though they're outside of the two national open enrollment periods, and they're calling it a special enrollment period. Now, where have we heard that before? Under 1996 HIPAA law, it allows special enrollment periods through employer-sponsored plans. So, for instance, if you have health insurance through an employer, you can't just jump on and off that plan all year. You have to enroll your family members once they become eligible during the annual open enrollment period, right?
Uh-huh.
But there are special enrollment periods with every employer-sponsored plan. For instance, you adopt a child, right?
Yep.
They must take that child. You have a baby. Well, they don't make you wait to insure the baby till the next annual open enrollment period. The baby gets qualified coverage on your policy as a special enrollment period. So HHS is considering, and it will probably happen before the end of the year. We're already getting internal memos that it's coming.
Wow.
A special enrollment period where people can get on to any health insurance plan in the country if their temporary plan runs out in the middle of the two national open enrollment periods. Starting in 2015, there will no longer be two national open enrollment periods. What we're going to have is one national enrollment period, open enrollment period, and it will emulate Medicare open enrollment for seniors all over this nation from October 15th to December 7th, and sometimes the dates vary a bit. They're able to get any Medicare Part C or D plan, Medicare Advantage or prescription drug coverage. Well, they're trying to emulate that so that all Americans who want individual plans on a guaranteed issue basis can also emulate the exact same open enrollment period. So that's going to begin in 2015. So that's why temporary is advantageous at this juncture.
Now, can you temporary? If you're looking for temporary, and we've got a caller standing by, if you're looking for temporary insurance, do you when you go to the insurance your insurance provider? You mention this. Just simply say, "I'm looking at a temporary policy."
That's correct. Yeah, all insurance companies offer them, almost all.
Wow.
And you can ask for a temporary policy. Wow. You can shop for them via my website. Just click on temporary insurance, or you can click on the healthcare reform banner. And instead of buying a permanent policy, you can buy a temporary policy. And the temporary policies don't include things like abortion coverage. So if you're opposed to that as a Christian, as is the case with the other plans, the regular Obamacare plans, you don't have to buy a plan that includes coverage for Ella and Plan B, which are abortifacient drugs.
All right.
You also don't have to pay for all the other stuff, like maternity and pediatric dental care when you're 62 years old and don't need it.
All right. Steve, we've got, obviously, you've notified people who are listening to this program via streaming, and we've got a caller standing by. I want to go to Joe, who's just down the road from us here at the studio, somewhere in Illinois. Joe, welcome to Viewpoints, and, of course, our guest, C. Stephen Tucker. Are you in Illinois as we speak, sir?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Okay. Where in Illinois?
Island Lake.
Okay. But is that part of the continental United States? Oh, go ahead. I apologize.
Yes. Northern Hemisphere.
Northern Hemisphere. Okay, good. I feel better. You have a question or a comment, sir?
Well, it's more of a question maybe to both of you, because I listened to Obama and giving his citation this morning on what he's going to do with the temporary fix, of allowing insurance companies to maintain their old policies if they haven't gotten rid of them.
Yeah.
And and tomorrow Congress is going to vote on this Upton bill, which seems to be doing the same thing, and I'm really confused as to what all this means for Obamacare.
Joe, we've got about 2 minutes to go. Stand by. Let's go to our guest, C. Stephen Tucker. And by the way, I'm going to remind everyone, smallbusinessinsuranceservices.com. And I have another website I'll mention a little later on related to truthandobamacare.com. But Stephen, what was your response to Joe there in Illinois?
Yes, that would be truthaboutobamacare.com. That's the other site.
Okay.
So what's happened, Joe, is that Barack Obama has now allowed the insurance industry to be able to retain the existing policies. So he's basically disregarding the ruling that was put in the HHS Federal Register in June of 2010, which predicted all of this, which means he was lying to us for 3 years. So now the insurance industry has the right to be able to maintain existing policies. And the only reason he can do that at this juncture is because the vast majority of these policies will not terminate, even though the letters have gone out, until December 31st or upon the renewal in 2014. So there's still time for the insurance industry to agree to do this. and I hope that they do. But if they do not, those policies will still be terminated. Either way, what we've done here is simply put a small Band-Aid on so he can get his Democrat friends through the 2014 election.
But here's the question. What about the congressional action?
The Upton bill.
Would that have any impact on this, on the part of the president?
Yes, if it passes through the Senate. Understand that everything the House tries to do to either present an alternative to this plan, which we've done 22 times, including the latest bill, which is the American Health Care Reform Act by the Republican Study Committee, an outstanding piece of legislation, is blocked in the Senate by Harry Reid. So I don't have much hope in the Upton bill or any other bill because it has to get through Harry Reid, and Harry Reid is going to carry the water for Barack Obama every time. So could it be successful if it passes the Senate? Yes. It's a good fix. But I don't think, because it's being proposed by a Republican, that it will ever pass the Senate or be signed by the president.
All right. Joe, thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it. And thanks for listening into the program. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a good day. Bye now.
All right. Our guest, and I want to thank him for being with us this afternoon. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk with him briefly off air because I think we're going to need more conversations of this nature. C. Stephen Tucker. And one more time, that website, and I just moved it from my computer, smallbusinessinsuranceservices.com. You're listening to Viewpoints here on the talk station, FM 107 AM 1240.